Chapter 30. The Tale of Nightwind, the Dwarven Warrior. Nightwind, Dwarven Warrior, with reddish-brown hair and beard, and dark brown eyes. Height, 4 feet 2 inches. Weight, 135 pounds. Age, 52. Place of birth, the village of Norndal, about 80 miles east of the village of Duran. This is the tale of Nightwind. Latia. I'm glad we could have dinner together this evening. I've never been on a date with a dwarf before, she said, smiling. Laura. Hello, folks. My name is Laura. I'll be serving you this evening. What can I get you? Latia. Hello, Laura. My name is Latia, and this is my friend Nightwind. You're beautiful. Laura, now blushing. Oh, thank you, Latia. So are you. Hello, Nightwind. I love both your names, by the way. Latia. Thanks. We like them too. We're going to have some bread and cheese and vegetables and some water, and I'll have some tea. Nightwind. Roast duck and honeymead for me. Thanks. Laura. Okay. I'll be back with your food soon. Nightwind. This is not a date. A date is something people do because of romantic or sexual interest. Dwarves do not have those types of feelings for non-dwarves. We are friends, nothing more. Latia, now feeling slightly awkward. Oh, I know. I didn't mean it like that. A dinner date for me is just two friends having dinner together to talk and get to know each other better. Nightwind, getting to know each other better is what people do who are romantic. Latia, interrupting him. I know that. We're having dinner together to get to know each other better as friends, and because we both want to go adventuring together. Nightwind, correct. Have you ever gone adventuring? Latia, no. That's why I came here. I'm hoping to find others like me who want to form a party. Have you ever gone adventuring before? Nightwind, yes, once, in the mountains. Latia, wow, you've been to the mountains? What's it like there? Nightwind, well, there's a lot of dwarves. It's also where my parents grew up. I went on an adventure once with other dwarves. They all wanted to go explore this cave that one of them found, so we did. Latia was now fascinated at the thought of what happened when they explored that cave. Oh, wow, so you all just decided to go inside to see what's there? Nightwind, yes. Latia, weren't you scared? Nightwind, well, at first I wasn't, but when we came into an area where there was a giant cave bear asleep, and it woke up when we entered and attacked us, then I was scared. Latia, oh, wow, what did you do? Did you all attack it and defeat it in battle? Did it have any treasure? Nightwind, we screamed and ran out of there as fast as we could. It almost caught us, too, but we escaped. Barely. Latia, oh, well, I'm sure you were very brave. Nightwind, no, I wasn't. I was terrified. We were all terrified. Have you ever seen a cave bear? Latia, no, what's it like? Nightwind, have you ever seen a black bear or a brown bear? Latia, I've seen black bears, and I've seen drawings of brown bears. They're like 9 feet long, right? Nightwind, yes. Cave bears are 12 feet long and very aggressive. Latia was shocked when she heard how huge a cave bear is and decided to change the topic. So, what was it like growing up in the mountains? Nightwind, I didn't grow up in the mountains. I grew up in the village of Norndal. It's about 80 miles east of here. Latia, oh, okay. I've heard of that village. Aren't there a lot of non-humans who live there? Nightwind, yes, it's one of the most diverse villages in Forestera. About half the people are human, and the rest are dwarves, elves, halflings, and gnomes, and even a few half-elves like you. Latia, wow! Well, now I want to see it. So what was it like growing up there? Nightwind, well, my parents are what I call soft disciplinarians. Latia, soft disciplinarians? I'm confused. That sounds like a contradiction. Nightwind, I know, but it's not. They ran a small farm and a small shop. My father was a skilled blacksmith. He made, repaired, bought, and sold armor and weapons, along with everyday items that both adventurers and townfolks used. Latia now became quite interested as Nightwind talked about his life. She was taking it all in, loving every second of it. Nightwind, they taught us all they knew about life in general. Latia, us? Brothers? Sisters? Nightwind, I have an older and a younger sister and a younger brother. Latia, oh, cool. What are their names? Nightwind found it odd how interested Latia found all this. Latia, I didn't have any brothers or sisters. I bet it was wonderful growing up with a big family. Nightwind, big? Our family was small. There are dwarves that have over 20 children. Latia, what? 20? That's crazy. Nightwind, crazy for you. Normal for dwarves. My brother's name is Gorn. My sister's names are Virdri and Lawilla. They all still live with our parents, and they're all married with kids of their own. It's quite common for dwarves to live like that. They often go to live with their mates' parents at times too, and help them with their businesses. Latia, that all sounds so wonderful. I wish we knew each other growing up. You're not that much older than me, so I'm sure it would have been fun. Nightwind, yes, I'm sure we would have been good friends, but there's more. For while we were growing up, my parents would take a year off of life and travel east into the mountains to show their children where we all came from. Latia, so dwarves came from the mountains? Nightwind, yes. It was the dwarven god Moradin who forged the dwarven race from iron and mithril in those mountains and breathed life into them as they cooled off on his forge. At this, Latia's mouth was agape. The image of dwarves being forged into existence like that just freaked her out. She assumed this was just dwarven legends. Latia, I'm not sure what to say about that, other than it sounds incredible. Nightwind, I'm sure it was. In the mountains we met many of our kin, and saw the great dwarven stonemasons and miners. We also saw dragons. Latia, what? You saw dragons? And you lived? Nightwind, yes. Dragons, like most monsters, tend to stay away from people, but we'd see one fly over our heads almost every day. While there's probably less than a dozen dragons in the western part of Forestera, there is hundreds in the mountains, if not more. Latia, note to self, never go adventuring in the mountains. Nightwind, on the contrary, I can't wait to go adventuring in the mountains. It is what I live for. Latia, why? There's dragons there. Nightwind, there are much more than just dragons that live in the mountains. There are all kinds of creatures that live there, above and below the ground. Dwarves often, accidentally, enter their lairs from all their digging. Many stories of great dwarven battles with all manner of strange beasts have been told and written about in the great dwarven libraries. Thanks to all the metals that we've dug up, we now have many great structures all throughout Forestera. Libraries, museums, temples, castles, you name it. Other races mine too, of course. Dwarves just do it the most. And the best. Latia, I see. Well, tell me more about your parents and your brothers and sisters. I want to know what your life was like growing up. You've already heard mine. Nightwind, yes, that was quite a tale. A tale I believe, mind you. I know you're not making things up. Latia, thank you. I believe you too, though the story about Moradin is a little hard to swallow. Nightwind smiled. Our parents also taught us meditation. Latia, shocked again. What? Dwarves meditate? Nightwind, not all dwarves do, but some of us do. Latia, but you don't cast spells. Meditation is to help spellcasters focus their mind, which in turn helps with our spellcasting. Nightwind, some dwarves are clerics. Latia again was surprised to hear that, but meditation is practiced to both focus and relax your mind, regardless of any spells you wish to cast. While the stereotype of us dwarves is mostly true, in that we are stubborn, pig-headed, and love drinking and brawling more than anyone else, there is much about dwarves that most people do not know. I've been told that in addition to some dwarves being clerics, there are also a few of us who are bards. Latia, just when I thought you couldn't shock me anymore. I cannot picture a dwarven bard. Nightwind, yeah, that was hard for me to picture too. That one was hard for me to picture too. Latia, so what do you mean by soft disciplinarians? Nightwind, about once a month or so, our parents would take us out into a field, and we'd all sit on the ground. They'd have us close our eyes and just sit and be in the field. They would ask us things like, what do you feel? Or, what are you thinking about right now? Then they would show us things like bugs crawling around, or animals out grazing in the plains. And they'd ask us things like, what is the purpose of all this? Why is all of it happening? For what reason? Of course, we'd tell them that we didn't know, or we'd guess. So they'd ask us a simple question like, do you think what they're doing matters? Is it important? When one animal would kill and eat another, they'd ask things like, was that animal wrong to kill the other? Did the other life die a meaningless death? Should we have tried to prevent it? Then the conversation would go something like this. What would you think if one of those animals killed and ate one of us? And we'd say how horrible that would be. So they'd ask, should we kill it for killing one of us? And we'd all agree that we would. Then they'd ask something like, was the animal wrong to kill us? And before we could answer, they'd say, were we wrong to kill it? That got us thinking. Then they'd have us sit in the silence some more. And then they'd ask us if we'd been wasting our time just sitting here in a field doing nothing. Besides, what if a creature came by and killed and ate us? Would our death be meaningless? Would the animal be wrong? Nightwind continued. They did this about once a month, and every time they did it, it was always a slightly different conversation of questions and answers and long meditations. Luckily, no animal ever attacked us, but many came close to us. A black bear came within 10 feet of us one time. Our parents just sat there and told us to be still. It soon moved on. They'd say how there was a chance that it could have attacked one of us, and we talked about how we'd all feel and respond if it did, and what it would mean if it happened. The more our parents taught us about life, the more I realized that life is happening all around us all the time, whether we are doing anything or not, whether we care or not. I came to see that sometimes doing nothing all day is still doing something, that nothing isn't meaningless or worthless or a waste of time. Even wasting time isn't a waste of time, but rather is something that you're doing. Thus, everything we do, no matter what it is, has meaning and significance, regardless of what others think of what you're doing. Latia. I'm sitting here having dinner with my new friend who is a dwarf, and I now feel like I'm sitting here with a monk or a sage or a mystic who's teaching me all about life in ways I had never truly thought about, at least not very deeply. They did this with you once a month? Nightwind. Yes, and over time, I went from hating it to greatly looking forward to it, seeing the mundane, random activities of life as being just as significant as any other action, just as important, just as valuable, taught me to respect life in ways I had never thought of. Don't get me wrong, I longed to kill orcs and goblins and giants one day too, even dragons. But all of life matters to me, whether I'm killing it or saving it. It's all here for a reason, and everything that happens matters, is important, is significant. Once I fully grasped this, I never feared death again. I fully accept death as a natural and important and necessary part of my life. In this way, I look forward to my death. It is an experience that I will experience one day, and it is just as significant and just as important and just as meaningful as every day that I live. Latia. Nightwind, you are blowing my mind right now. I'm not even sure what to make of all this, but I never thought dwarves contemplated such things. Nightwind. Most don't, sadly. Our parents weren't like most dwarves, but in many ways they were exactly like dwarves. But more dwarves are like this than most people know. Not a lot, but some. Latia. Well, I feel like you and I were destined to meet. I think we're going to form an adventuring party. Nightwind. Well, here's hoping. Sheila. Thank you for making the time to meet with me, Moradin. How are things going in your realm? Moradin. Everything is good on my end. How are you doing, all things considered? Sheila. I'm just fine. Putting a lot of different things in motion now. We'll see how they all play out over time. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Are you familiar with a dwarf named Nightwind? Moradin. That name sounds a little familiar. Why do you ask? Sheila. Well, I'm guessing by that response that you have no specific plans for him. I wouldn't want to get in the way if you did. Moradin. Nope, none at all. He's all yours. Sheila. Well, here's hoping this party forms. Morden. Party, huh? Big plans? Sheila. Possibly. That depends more on them, though, than on me. But I'll stick my toes in there a little bit, if needed. Morden, smiling now. Of course you will. I'm looking forward to observing all of it. Sheila, smiling back. So am I.